Hi, my name is Montgomery, and I am doing this month's edition of Women's History Year. I decided to do my video on someone I love listening to, but realize I don't know that much about, and that is Billie Holiday. Um, to be an African American woman in the early 20s and 30s in the spotlight probably wasn't easy. Just considering the fact that it wasn't easy being an African American woman, period, in the early 20s and 30s. So I was curious, what did she have to overcome? I mean, besides the obvious, what did she contribute? And I wanted to know more about her music and the context of her songs and whatnot. And one in particular stood out to me, and that is Strange Fruit. First, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Billie. She grew up in Maryland with her older sister. Um, Her mom traveled a lot for work, so they physically and emotionally were kind of distant from each other most of her childhood. Um, Billie, well, at the time, Eleonora, was truant quite often. She did not like going to school. By the time she was like 9, she was brought before the court for being truant so much. She had a truancy issue. Truant. Sorry, I keep saying truant. Clearly, it's stuck in my head. But so she went to a Catholic reform school. I'm over editing this out. I'm just gonna play it. She went to a Catholic reform school, and when she got out, continued to not go to school. Not gonna say truant. But Billie did overcome a lot of problems in her childhood, abuse, physical, sexual, emotional. So by the time her mom moved to Harlem when she was about 16, 17, she was ready for a fresh start, moved out there with her. Both she and her mother were arrested for prostitution. But by the time she was 18, she had taken the name Billie and got into the music scene. So luckily, we were all gifted with her wonderful voice. So I just want to tell you about that. Her father wasn't really in the picture. Her mom and her didn't have a strong connection, but Billie herself was a survivor and super, super determined. So she did. I'm going to fast forward through her becoming the big hit that she is today and tell you that she got offered to sing a song called Strange Fruit that was written by Abel. I don't remember his last name. Abel Meerpool, and he originally wrote it as Bitter Fruit, and it was written because Abel saw a photo in a civil rights magazine. Abel was a high school teacher in New York. He saw a photo in a civil rights magazine of two men who were publicly lynched. It is extremely graphic, and it is really hard to look at. So I'm going to show you because I think it's important to understand exactly what we're talking about. But the two men are lynched, and there is quite a crowd. You can't even really see how many people are in it because of the lighting and whatnot. But it was quite a crowd. And the two men were Thomas Shipp and Abraham Smith in Indiana. And so he saw that and wrote bitter fruit, which then became strange fruit. So I'm going to read you the poem song, some of it. And I'm not a poet or a musician or anything, so I'm not going to bring this to justice, but I want you to understand why these words are so powerful. Okay. Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze. Strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees. Pastoral scene of the gallant South. The bulging eyes and the twisted mouth. Scent of magnolias, sweet and fresh. Then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the trees to drop. Here is a strange and bitter crop. So that gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, read it, anything. Yeah, it's weird to think like those are my ancestors that went through this stuff. So sometimes it just kind of puts it a little bit, takes me back a little bit. So excuse me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so Billie was presented with this and was hesitant to take it, but knew that she wanted to sing it. She went to her record label, Columbia Records, which is huge even today. Um, and they said, no, we have ties to the South. We do not wish to upset anyone. You may not sing it. So she went to an alternative jazz record label, which her friend owned. She sang it to a cappella, and he promptly started crying, as I know I would have as well. She had one chance to record it, so she did. She sang it in that one studio session. It kind of became known as like in the early civil rights movement, it was the song that you referred to that moved you. So just to kind of understand like how, like, to record the song takes a lot, right? You're emotionally, you're putting your all into it, but then she had to perform it, you know. Well, she didn't have to, but she did perform it every night. So that is like a whole nother ball game. And if you think about it, she was putting her safety at risk. So I found the list of things that they actually had to do every time she sang the song. One, this was the last song of the evening. She could not do it as the opener. She could not do it in the middle. And she certainly could not do any encores after. If she did this song, then she was done. Why? Because then that would give people a chance to attack her or hurt her or anything like that. The waiters and waitresses had to stop serving while she was performing. Like that song, they could not be walking around. I think this partly is because it was such a moving spiritual song for her. Also, so people wouldn't throw things, I'm guessing. I could be totally wrong, but couldn't use anything as any kind of weapon. And finally, she always closed her eyes and held her hands out like it really was a spiritual moment for her. This was something she was letting the audience in on. And I just think that's really beautiful. In 1999, it was named Song of the Century by Times Magazine. #1 song of the century. So I just wanted to play you some of it right now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you kind of appreciate Billie a little bit more like I do. So yeah, here's Strange Fruit.
Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree.
Thank you so much.